We'll look now from clean energy to dirty food. What do you do with food that has mould on it? How much mould is okay to just wipe off and eat? And what about mouldy cheese?
Sorry. Well, fear not, we have someone here who can help us through all these questions. Good evening and welcome to Living the Life, nutritionist Jo Travers.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
No, it's our pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on. Now, is it safe to eat food that's showing signs of mould? Because when I look at something that's mouldy, that's a red flag, a green flag. That's it. I'm not going to eat it anymore. Is it safe in any way to eat mouldy food?
Some food, yes. Most food, no. Okay, so there are very few foods that you can just chop the mould off, and hard cheese is one of them. So, but it's really important. If you can see mould, the visible bit is not all that there is there. There's lots more extra bits kind of deep inside, so it's got roots that you can't really see that can go in for like 2-3 centimetres. So it's really important that you chop off a nice big chunk. So if you've got a little bit of cheese that's gone mouldy, just throw it in the bin.
Wow.
I better run home and save my kids from the dinner I left them with. Because I literally just cut the corner of the cheese and said, here's your food while I go.
We're not going to waste any food here. Not in the Basit Khan house.
Daddy works too hard for this food.
The bread is the one that I really want to know about, because bread is, I guess that's the first thing you think of, going mouldy in the fridge, right? What is it? If you see bread with a few green patches on there, is it still safe to eat?
No.
Not at all. So any sign of green on bread?
Anything that's at all porous will mean that it can draw more of the kind of moulds right the way through it. So even getting rid of the visible bit of mould, you're not guaranteed that you're going to get rid of it.
Bread in particular, because obviously it's sliced bread, and the mould tends to be on the top, and you can probably throw away the top 3 slices and then the rest is okay.
No,
you can see,
the rest of it is not okay.
I assure you, I don't have mouldy food.
I'm just selling it, but
I just somebody told me.
I have to be careful having a sandwich around your place, man.
So any food that's got a high moisture content, so bread is actually quite a moist product, it can draw that mould in, and the mould can spread very, very quickly. So actually, even getting rid of those few slices, you can't guarantee that there's not going to be any mould in there. And some mould is actually really toxic. So it's important to know that. And unless you're a mould expert, it's very difficult to differentiate between the good mould and the bad mould.
Well, you say that, right, and the obvious question is, what is mould actually, and why is it bad for us?
It's a kind of a fungus, and not all mould is bad for us. So, for example, some of those mould-ripened cheeses like brie and camembert, which have that white mould on the outside, and then there's the blue cheeses. So those ones are good, and also penicillin. So in terms of antibiotics, that comes from a mould as well. So some moulds, good. Most moulds that we're talking about in this case, bad. So it's a kind of a fungus, and the bit that you see is the head, and as well as that fungusy bit, that bit on the top, it has the roots that go further in, and then it gives off spores as well. So it's the spores that travel around in the air.
Oh man, that's so disgustingly vivid, honestly. It's gross.
Which is why, if you see some mouldy food, don't smell it to see if it's okay to eat, because the mould spores can go up into your nose and then down into your lungs. Yeah.
That's so gross.
Dangerous business.
That's incredible. I mean, we're in proximity to this this jar and this other food.
There's mould on that jar.
Don't breathe in.
I'm the closest to it. This is a health hazard.
I think you're probably okay at the moment.
Is there anything you can do to prevent mould? So, I mean, I guess the age-old thing is a lot of people put their bread in a fridge because it crystallizes, I guess, so in theory it doesn't mould as fast. I mean, are there any little tricks or just general best practice with your food to avoid moulding?
So mould grows best in warm, humid environments, OK? So you can grow mould quite easily in a bathroom. I don't know if anyone's ever tried that.
I don't know. Not voluntarily, I imagine.
But food tends to be better preserved if you keep it in the fridge, so cooler temperatures, and if you keep it in a kind of drier environment. So rather than keeping it in the thing with things like bread, you want to keep them quite moist because that's what makes bread nice and squashy. But if it, so you don't want it to dry out. So the best thing is to just eat it quickly. But keeping food covered is quite good because, as I was saying, the spores, they're everywhere. There's millions of them all the time, everywhere. So if you keep your food uncovered, they're more likely to come in contact with the spores, and then they multiply into mould.
The thing is, this mould is obviously quite visible. It's there. You can see that kind of the fungi is growing. It's a bit green, a bit white. But I guess sometimes you also get invisible. Is it bacteria? And you know, how do we know about that? And what do we do in that kind of scenario? Because obviously we can't see it, so we don't know.
It's quite difficult to know because bacteria are so tiny. And before mould, once it gets to this stage, there's a lot of mould there. Okay, when it becomes visible, actually, there's a lot there. But before you get to that point, there's not really any clear way of knowing for sure. So follow the use by dates on food. That's a really good recommendation, because they will have tested the food to see how much it's likely to decay and bacteria to grow over time. So if you follow those rules, that's a really good
Indeed.
good rule
Now,
of thumb.
got to ask you, Anjum, we were talking about the duff earlier. Now, let me paint you a little picture, right? Let me set a little scenario. If you've just done a long lesson teaching somebody how to play the duff, right? You fancy a sandwich, you go to the fridge, you spot a slice of bread at the top of your packet, right? And there's a tiny bit of green on it. What do? Do you chuck it away? Do you just cut around the green? What do you do?
I run. That's what I do. So I'm known in my family to run from mould. Yeah.
Yeah, it can be frightening. It's not something to be taken lightly.
Obviously, you mentioned about the cheese as well. So you're saying people actually pay a lot of money for some of the more expensive cheeses, and these are actually ridden with bacteria. But this is good bacteria, clearly.
Yeah. So there is a difference. There's good, there's bad. Okay, so the good stuff you would pay for. So things like Roquefort, those kind of blue cheeses, they're actually designed to have mould in them. That's how they develop their flavour, and it's completely harmless.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'm going to take your word for it.
Jo, thank you so much for that. I mean, I'm certainly going to go back to my fridge and have a massive clear out.
Mate, please do stay with us. We're having fun. We're talking to our guests. But anyway, duff and mould, it's been a heck of a show already.
Indeed.